When a wife discovers her husband's 7-year affair with her sister, but that's just the beginning. Have you ever wondered what would hurt more? Finding out your spouse is cheating or discovering they're cheating with your own sister? What if I told you that's just the beginning of a betrayal, so deep it could destroy an entire family empire? If you've ever been betrayed by someone you trusted, this story will hit different. Before we dive into Diana's world of luxury penthouses and shattered trust, hit that like button if you believe karma always finds its way, and subscribe with notifications on, because the twists in this story will leave you questioning everyone around you. Let's begin. The Miami skyline glittered like scattered diamonds against the obsidian canvas of 3 a.m. darkness. Diana Martinez stood on the wraparound terrace of her 42nd floor penthouse, her silk robe whipping in the warm Atlantic wind. The city below hummed with its usual nocturnal symphony. Distant sirens, the occasional horn, the bass thump from a South Beach club carried on the breeze. Everything seemed normal, perfect, even except for the phone vibrating in her hand. The message glowed against the darkness. "I know what you did." No sender ID, no context, just 5 words that made her stomach clench despite having no idea what they meant. Diana had built her life on precision, on reading people, on knowing every angle of a deal before anyone else even realized there was a game being played. She didn't make mistakes that warranted anonymous threats. The French doors behind her whispered open. Marcus appeared, his concerned face illuminated by the amber terrace lighting. Even at 3 a.m, disheveled from sleep, he looked like he'd stepped from a magazine. Sharp cheekbones, perfectly tousled black hair, those green eyes that had first captured her attention at a charity gala 7 years ago. "Diana, what are you doing out here?" His voice carried that careful tone he used when he thought she was overthinking a deal. "It's 3 a.m. She slipped the phone into her pocket. "Couldn't sleep. The Pemberton closing is tomorrow." Marcus wrapped his arms around her from behind his chin, resting on her shoulder. His cologne, Tom Ford Oud Wood, the same one she'd bought him last Christmas, enveloped her. "The $50 million baby. You nervous?" "Never." She lied, though her nerves had nothing to do with real estate. "That's my shark," he murmured against her ear. "Come back to bed. The girls have that field trip tomorrow. You promised to do Emma's hair in those complicated braids she likes." Diana allowed herself to lean back against his chest, feeling his heartbeat against her spine. Steady, calm, nothing like hers, which hadn't stopped racing since the message arrived. "In a minute." Marcus kissed her temple and patted back inside. Diana waited until she heard the bedroom door close before pulling out her phone again. The message remained stubborn and accusatory. She screenshot it, then deleted it, a habit from years of protecting sensitive negotiations. 48 hours earlier, her life had been different. Perfect, she would have said. The Martinez real estate empire occupied 3 floors of a Brickell Avenue high-rise, its floor-to-ceiling windows offering panoramic views of Biscayne Bay. Diana had arrived that morning with her usual armor, a cream Saint Laurent suit that cost more than most people's monthly mortgage, her grandmother's diamond studs, and the confident stride that had earned her the nickname The Closer in Miami's cutthroat luxury real estate market. Morning Mrs. Chen, her assistant Lucia, had greeted her with a cortado and an iPad full of the day's schedule. "Mr. Pemberton confirmed for 2 p.m. Legal has the contracts ready." Diana had nodded, scrolling through emails as she walked to her corner office. The one from her sister Valerie caught her eye. Another request to grab lunch and catch up. Diana archived it without responding. She loved her sister, but Valerie's version of catching up usually involved asking for money or connections dressed up as sisterly bonding. The morning had blurred past in a symphony of phone calls, contract reviews, and strategic planning. By noon, Diana was in her element conducting a virtual tour for a Chinese investor interested in a Star Island estate. She switched seamlessly between English and Mandarin, a skill that had opened doors her competitors couldn't even find. The property includes a private beach yacht dock for up to 200 feet, and the infinity pool was featured in Architectural Digest last year, she explained, manipulating the 3D tour on her screen. Her phone had buzzed. "Marcus, picking up the girls early. Emma has a headache." "Don't worry, handled. Kill that deal, baby." She'd smiled, the kind of reflexive response 7 years of marriage produced. Marcus was good with the girls, better than she was sometimes. Where Diana pushed them toward achievement, Marcus provided the soft landing. Emma especially gravitated toward her father's gentleness, while Sophia mirrored Diana's intensity. The Pemberton closing had gone flawlessly. $50 million for a Coral Gables estate that had been on the market for 3 years before Diana took the listing. Her commission would secure the girls' college funds, and then some. She'd texted Marcus a champagne emoji and received back a heart. That evening, she'd come home to find Marcus cooking. His grandmother's jade dumplings, a recipe he only made for special occasions. The girls were at the Marble Island flower in their dark hair, their laughter filling the penthouse. "Mommy closed the big deal," Sophia announced, running to hug Diana's legs, leaving flower handprints on the Saint Laurent. "Daddy said we could stay up late to celebrate," Emma added, quieter, always watching, always processing. They'd eaten on the terrace, the Miami sunset painting the sky in shades of coral and gold. Marcus had opened a bottle of 2008 Dom Perignon. The girls had sparkling apple juice and champagne flutes, clinking glasses with the solemnity of 8-year-olds pretending to be adults. "To the shark of Miami real estate," Marcus had toasted, his eyes warm with what looked like pride. "To our family," Diana had countered, and they'd drunk as the city lights began their nightly show. Later, after the girls were asleep, Marcus had pulled her onto the living room couch. "I have a conference in Orlando this weekend. Medical devices thing. Boring stuff. Went Friday to Sunday. I know it's sudden, but Dr. Patterson specifically requested I present the neural mapping project." Diana had nodded already, mentally rearranging her schedule. "I can handle the girls. Valerie's been wanting to see them anyway." Marcus had kissed her, deep and familiar. "What would I do without you?" Now standing on the terrace in the pre-dawn darkness, Diana wondered if she'd ever really known the answer to that question. The next morning came too fast. Diana stood in Emma's bathroom, weaving her daughter's hair into Dutch braids, while the girl held perfectly still, her reflection solemn in the mirror. "Mommy, do you ever have bad dreams?" Emma asked suddenly. Diana's fingers paused. "Sometimes. Why, sweetheart? I dreamed there were 2 mommies and they were both crying." The elastic slipped from Diana's finger. "That sounds scary." "It was sad more than scary." Emma picked up her tablet, swiping to her art app. "I drew it." The image made Diana's chest tight. 2 women faces obscured by waterfalls of tears, reaching for something between them that looked like a broken heart. Or maybe a house. Children's art was hard to interpret, but the emotion was clear. "When did you draw this?" "Last night, after the celebration." Diana finished the braid, kissing the top of Emma's head. "It's just a dream, baby. Sometimes our brains process things in weird ways." Sophia burst in. "Mom, Dad's on a call and won't make breakfast. He seems mad." Diana found Marcus in his home office, pacing with his phone pressed to his ear. His face was flushed, jaw clenched. "I don't care what she said. That's not the arrangement. No, listen to me." He saw Diana and immediately softened his tone. "We'll discuss this later." He ended the call. "Everything okay?" Diana asked. "Hospital politics." He crossed to her, hands on her shoulders. "Nothing to worry about. I'll grab something on the way to work." He kissed her quickly and left, leaving Diana with the unsettled feeling that had been growing since the anonymous text. She walked to his desk, not sure what she was looking for. Everything was meticulously organized. Marcus was almost obsessive about order. His iPad sat charging on the desk, the notification screen showing several messages. She shouldn't look. Trust was the foundation of marriage. But her fingers moved anyway, typing in his passcode, their anniversary date. Most of the messages were work-related. Calendar reminders. A text from his tennis partner about Sunday's game. Then a message thread with no contact name, just a phone number. "Can't wait for this weekend. She doesn't suspect anything." The response? "You're sure she won't check, Marcus? I've been perfect. 7 years of perfect." Diana's hands shook as she scrolled up, but the previous messages had been deleted. She screenshot everything, sent it to herself, and deleted the evidence of her snooping. 7 years of perfect. The words echoed as she drove the girls to school, as she sat through a staff meeting, as she showed a waterfront condo to a tech executive relocating from San Francisco. What had been perfect? Their marriage. His deception. Both that afternoon she told Lucia she had a client viewing and left the office. Instead, she drove home and searched Marcus's office with the thoroughness she usually reserved for property inspections. In his closet behind boxes of medical journals, she found a credit card statement for an account she didn't know existed. Charges from the previous month. La Petite Maison, $500. Cartier, $8,000. Four Seasons Hotel, Wallen, $200. Her stomach churned. Marcus hadn't taken her to La Petite Maison in over a year. The Friday of Marcus's supposed conference came gray and humid, unusual for Miami in October. Diana had arranged for the girls to sleep at their friend Madison's house. She'd told Marcus she had a late showing in Aventura. Instead, she sat in her Tesla in the Four Seasons valet area waiting. She'd changed into nondescript clothes, jeans, a baseball cap, sunglasses, the opposite of how Diana Martinez presented herself to the world. At 7:43 p.m., Marcus's Porsche pulled up. He emerged looking around before handing his keys to the valet. Diana's heart hammered as she watched him enter the hotel. She waited 5 minutes, then followed. The lobby was buzzing with typical Friday evening energy. Diana kept her head down, taking a seat at the bar with a view of the elevators. She ordered a vodka tonic she had no intention of drinking. At 8:15, a woman entered the lobby. Blonde hair in waves, a red dress that clung to every curve, walking with the confidence of someone who knew she was being watched. She went straight to the elevators without stopping at reception. Diana's phone buzzed. Marcus, conference dinner running long, boring presentations. Miss you. The lies came so easily. Diana waited another 10 minutes before approaching the front desk. She'd prepared for this, wearing her wedding ring on a chain around her neck, her eyes red from carefully applied Visine. I'm Mrs. Chen, she told the young clerk, letting her voice crack. My husband. He left his heart medication. He's in room... Oh God, I can't remember. Marcus Chen. He checked in today. The clerk's face softened with sympathy. Let me check for you, Mrs. Chen. Fingers flew across the keyboard. Room 1247. Would you like me to call up? No. Diana softened her tone. I mean, I'll just go up. He gets embarrassed about the medication. You know how men are. The clerk nodded conspiratorially and handed her a key card. I understand completely. The elevators are just there. The ride to the 12th floor felt endless. Diana's reflection in the elevator doors looked like a stranger, pale, drawn, older somehow. The hallway stretched before her, each step on the plush carpet silent as she approached room 1247. She could hear music inside. Jazz. Marcus hated jazz. The key card trembled in her hand. One swipe and everything would change. Maybe it wasn't too late. Maybe she could walk away, pretend she never knew preserve the perfect life. But Diana Martinez hadn't built an empire by walking away. The card beeped green. She pushed the door open. The room was lit by candles, champagne cooling in a bucket, rose petals scattered on the bed like drops of blood. Marcus stood by the window shirtless, his back to the door, speaking to someone in the bathroom. I told you after this weekend everything changes. The company, the money, all of it. The bathroom door opened, steam billowing out like a theatrical effect. The woman who emerged wore a hotel robe, her hair wrapped in a towel. She saw Diana first, her face cycling through surprise, fear, and then something else. Something like satisfaction. Hello, Diana, Valerie said. Diana couldn't breathe. The room tilted. Her sister. Her baby sister, who she'd taught to ride a bike, who'd been her maid of honor, who brought the girls presents every birthday. Marcus spun around, his face draining of color. Diana, what are you... Don't. Her voice came out stronger than she felt. Don't you dare ask what I'm doing here. Valerie stepped forward, pulling the towel from her hair, letting her long dark waves fall around her shoulders. We need to talk. Talk? Diana laughed, sharp and bitter. About what exactly? How long you've been fucking my husband? 18 months, Valerie said simply, as if discussing the weather. The number hit Diana like a physical blow. 18 months. Family dinners, Christmas. The girls' birthday party where Valerie had helped serve cake. Marcus found his voice. Diana, it's not... This isn't just what Marcus just sex, just destroying our family. Just the beginning, Valerie said. The room went silent except for the jazz piano floating from hidden speakers. Diana looked between them, these two people she'd trusted most in the world. The beginning of what? Marcus and Valerie exchanged a look, a moment of silent communication that spoke of intimate conspiracy. It was Valerie who spoke, of taking what should have been mine from the start. What are you talking about? Mom and Dad's company. Their legacy. Valerie moved to the champagne, pouring herself a glass with steady hands. You were always the golden child. The smart one. The successful one. But did you know Dad was going to leave the company to both of us? Equal shares. Diana's mind raced. That's not true. The will was clear. The will you saw, not the one I saw him drafting 6 months before he died. You're lying. Valerie sipped her champagne. Ask yourself why Mom started getting confused so soon after Dad died. Ask yourself who suggested that nice facility in Coral Gables. Ask yourself who's been managing her medication. The implications crashed over Diana in waves. You didn't. Mom's Alzheimer's is real, but accelerated enhanced who's to say? Valerie shrugged. She always loved you more anyway. Diana's legs gave out. She sank into the nearest chair, her mind struggling to process the magnitude of betrayal. And Marcus, what's his part in this? Marcus had pulled on a shirt, his movements sharp with agitation. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. How was it supposed to happen? Diana's voice was barely a whisper. You were supposed to be traveling more, he said. The international expansion you've been planning. You'd be gone focused on work. We'd file for divorce citing abandonment. I'd get the girls the penthouse. Valerie would already be positioned to take over the company with her power of attorney for Mom. The girls, Diana shot to her feet. You're using our daughters? They're better off with me, Marcus said, and for the first time Diana saw him clearly. Not the charming doctor who'd swept her off her feet, but a calculating stranger. You barely see them as it is. I work to give them everything. You work because that's all you know how to do, Valerie interjected. Just like Dad. And look where it got him. Dead at 60 from a heart attack, leaving behind a fortune and a family that barely knew him. Diana's phone buzzed. She pulled it out automatically, needing something to anchor her to reality. Another unknown number. The recording device is in the Cartier box. You're welcome. She looked up at Marcus and Valerie, who were watching her with predatory focus. Who else knows? Diana asked. About us? Valerie laughed. No one who matters. We've been very careful. Except you weren't. Diana stood, finding her strength in familiar territory. The deal, the negotiation, the game. The credit card statements, the deleted texts, the hotel charges. You've been sloppy. Marcus's jaw tightened. You went through my things. I protected my interests. Something you taught me, actually. Remember when we signed our prenup, you said always know where the exits are. The prenup. Valerie's satisfaction flickered. Marcus, you said, it's ironclad. He cut her off. But irrelevant if Diana's deemed an unfit mother. Diana's phone rang. Emma's school. Mrs. Chen, this is Nurse Patricia. Emma's having an episode. She's asking for you. What kind of episode? She's been sleepwalking, but awake. She walked out of class and we found her in the art room painting. She won't stop crying. I'm on my way. Diana hung up and headed for the door. Where are you going? Marcus demanded. To our daughter. The one you claim I don't have time for. Diana, Valerie called out. This doesn't have to be ugly. We can make a deal. Diana paused at the door, not turning around. The only deal I'm interested in is the one where you both burn in hell. She left them there in their candlelit fantasy and drove to Emma's school with tears she wouldn't let fall blurring the city lights. The school nurse's office smelled of Band-Aids and industrial disinfectant. Emma sat on the paper-covered examination table, her school uniform stained with paint, her braids half undone. When she saw Diana, she flew into her arms. Mommy, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Shh, baby, it's okay. Diana held her daughter tight, feeling the little body shake with sobs. Tell me what happened. I was in math class and then I was somewhere else. Like I was watching myself from outside. And I kept seeing the two mommies crying, but this time one of them looked like Aunt Valerie. Diana's blood chilled. When did you start seeing Aunt Valerie in your dreams? Last week, after she came for dinner. She and Daddy were whispering in his office, and I heard them say something about after it's done. I got scared. The nurse, Patricia, an older woman with kind eyes, intervened gently. Mrs. Chen, Emma's been having these episodes for about a month, according to her teacher. Has there been any stress at home? Diana wanted to laugh at the understatement. We're dealing with some family matters. I recommend she see someone. Dr. Catherine Wu is excellent with children. She actually works with several families at the school. Dr. Catherine Wu. Diana filed the name away. Thank you. Can I take Emma home? Of course. In the car, Emma was quiet until they were halfway home. Mommy, are you and Daddy getting divorced? Diana's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Why would you ask that? Sophia heard Daddy on the phone. He said something about custody and lawyers. The betrayal kept spreading like ink in water, touching everything. Sometimes adults have complicated problems, Diana said carefully, but no matter what happens between Daddy and me, we both love you and Sophia more than anything in the world. More than money. More than all the money in the world. More than Aunt Valerie. Diana pulled over, turning to look at her too perceptive daughter. Why would you ask about Aunt Valerie? Emma pulled out her tablet, opening her art app. She showed Diana a drawing from 3 days ago. 2 figures, clearly Marcus and Valerie, from the distinctive hair, stood close together, while a third figure, Diana recognizable by the red suit she'd worn that day, stood apart, surrounded by darkness. I saw them, Emma whispered. At the hotel by my piano teacher's house. They were kissing. Diana's heart broke for her daughter, for the innocence lost for the burden of secrets no 8-year-old should carry. You don't have to worry about any of this, Diana said. This is grown-up stuff. But it affects us, too. Emma's eyes, so like Diana's own, were too wise. Sophia and me. We're not just kids' things you guys figure out who keeps. Diana pulled Emma into an awkward car hug. You're right. You're absolutely right. They drove home in silence, but it was a different kind of quiet. A conspirator's quiet. The understanding that they were in this together. That evening, Diana sat in her home office, the lights of Miami spreading before her like a circuit board. She'd sent the girls to stay with their friend Madison after all telling Marcus via text that Emma wasn't feeling well but was better now. He'd responded with concern that felt performative now that she knew the truth. She opened her laptop and began documenting everything. The credit card statements, the text messages, the hotel receipt she'd grabbed on her way out. She uploaded it all to a cloud server, then sent a copy to her personal attorney, not the family one. Her phone rang. Jake Morrison. She almost didn't answer. Jake was Valerie's ex-husband, someone she'd maintained polite distance from since their divorce 2 years ago. Diana, I know this is weird, but we need to talk, he said without preamble. It's about Valerie and your husband. Diana's laugh was bitter. You know, I've known for 3 months. I hired a PI to follow Valerie because she was trying to claim increased alimony. Imagine my surprise. Why didn't you tell me? Would you have believed me, the ex-husband making accusations? He had a point. But that's not why I'm calling, Jake continued. The PI found something else. Documents. Forged documents with your parents' signatures. The room spun. What kind of documents? Power of attorney, transfer of assets. All dated just before your father's death, but filed just recently. Diana, I think your sister's been planning this for years, and I don't think Marcus is the mastermind. Then who is? That's what we need to figure out. Can you meet tomorrow, somewhere they won't expect? Diana thought of the anonymous texts, the recording device supposedly in the Cartier box. Someone else was playing this game. Vizcaya Gardens, 10 a.m., by the Orchid House. I'll be there. After hanging up, Diana walked through her penthouse, seeing it differently. The family photos on the mantel, all of them containing lies. The art they'd collected together, each piece now tainted. The girl's room still innocent, still pure, but for how long? She stopped at Marcus's office again, drawn by an instinct honed by years of reading contracts for what wasn't said. In his desk drawer beneath medical journals, she found a single key. No label, no identifying marks. Just a key that didn't match any lock in their home. Her phone buzzed. The unknown number again. Check the beach house. Tomorrow, after Vizcaya. Diana stared at the message. Someone was guiding her, leaving breadcrumbs. But toward what and why outside Miami glittered on, indifferent to personal catastrophes. Tomorrow would bring more revelations, more betrayals, probably. But tonight, Diana stood in her palace of lies, holding a mysterious key, and made a decision. She wouldn't just defend, she'd attack. Valerie wanted the company, Marcus wanted the girls. Someone wanted to play puppet master. They'd forgotten who they were dealing with. Diana Martinez hadn't become Miami's most successful real estate agent by playing nice. She'd done it by being 3 steps ahead, by seeing angles others missed, by closing deals others thought impossible. This was just another negotiation. The stakes were just higher. Everything she loved versus everyone who'd betrayed her. She smiled, the expression sharp as a blade in the window's reflection. Let the real game begin. Vizcaya Gardens drowsed in the morning humidity, its European formality incongruous against Miami's tropical exuberance. Diana arrived early, parking her Tesla near the entrance and walking through the gardens with the purposeful stride of someone who belonged. Tourists meandered past taking photos of the Renaissance facades, oblivious to the drama unfolding in their midst. The orchid house stood apart, a Victorian greenhouse filled with exotic blooms that seemed to watch like eyes. Diana found Jake Morrison already there, studying a purple vanda with the intensity of someone avoiding harder thoughts. He looked different from the last time she'd seen him at a school function. Thinner shadows under his eyes, his usual precise grooming slightly off. The divorce from Valerie had marked him, but now Diana understood it might have been more than just marital dissolution. "You came," he said without looking up from the orchid. "You said you had information." Jake turned to face her, and Diana saw her own exhaustion mirrored in his features. "First, I need to know, are you recording this?" "Are you?" He smiled, humorless. "Fair point. No, I'm not. But someone else might be. Your text messages, the ones telling you about the recording device. I've been getting them, too." Diana's pulse quickened. "What do they say?" "Instructions. Hints. Someone's been feeding me information about Valerie for months. Financial records, photos, recordings of conversations I wasn't part of." He pulled out his phone, showing her a message. "She's planning something bigger. You're not the only target." "Who's sending them?" "Unknown number, untraceable. I've tried." Jake moved deeper into the greenhouse, away from a tour group. "But whoever it is knows everything. Diana, your sister, isn't just after your parents' company. She's built an entire network. Shell companies' offshore accounts, forged documents going back years." He handed her a folder he'd been carrying. Inside were bank statements, incorporation documents, emails printed from servers that should have been secure. Diana's trained eye caught patterns immediately. Money flowing in circles, cleaning itself, building toward something. "This is money laundering." "It's more than that. Look at the dates." Diana studied the documents more carefully. The first shell company had been created 3 years ago, just months after their father's first heart episode. The offshore accounts opened the week their mother started showing signs of confusion. "She knew," Diana breathed. "She knew Dad was sick before any of us." "Or she caused it," Jake said quietly. "Your father's heart medication. Did he ever change prescriptions suddenly?" The memory hit Diana like ice water. "About 3 years ago, Valerie recommended a new cardiologist, said he was the best in Miami. Dr. Aaron Steinberg." "How did you know?" Jake pulled out another document. "Because he's been depositing exactly $10,000 a month into an account linked to one of Valerie's shell companies." Diana gripped the railing overlooking a pond where koi swam in lazy circles. "She killed him. She killed our father. We can't prove that, but we can prove the financial fraud, the forged signatures, the embezzlement from your mother's trust." Jake moved closer, lowering his voice. "But Diana, there's something else. Marcus isn't just having an affair with your sister. His name is on some of these companies." "For how long?" "The earliest document I found is from 5 years ago." 5 years? They'd been married for 7, planning this for 5. "But here's what doesn't make sense," Jake continued. "The messages, the breadcrumbs someone's leaving, they started before I hired the PI. Someone wanted me to find this, wanted us both to find it." A new voice interrupted them. "Because you're the only ones who can stop them." Diana and Jake spun around. A woman stood in the greenhouse entrance, mid-40s, elegant in the understated way of old money, with silver streaking through black hair pulled into a chignon. She looked familiar, but Diana couldn't place her. "I'm sorry for the dramatics," the woman said, approaching slowly, hands visible and empty. "But I couldn't risk direct contact until I was sure you'd both be invested enough to act." "You're the one sending the messages," Diana stated. "Yes. My name is Grace Chen. Marcus is my brother." The greenhouse seemed to shrink. Diana felt Jake tense beside her. "Marcus doesn't have a sister," Diana said. "Not that he acknowledges. We haven't spoken in 10 years. Grace moved to the orchids, touching one delicately. "Our adoptive father, Raymond Chen, raised us both. You know him as your family's biggest competitor in real estate." The pieces clicked. "Marcus is Raymond Chen's son, adopted son, as am I. But while I walked away from that life, Marcus wanted to prove himself, to earn what he thought was his birthright." Grace's expression hardened. "Raymond is dying. Pancreatic cancer stage 4. He has maybe 6 months. And he wants to secure his legacy by absorbing your family's company. Marcus is his instrument." Diana's phone buzzed. Emma's school again. She let it go to voicemail. "Why warn us?" Jake asked. "Why betray your brother?" "Because Marcus betrayed me first. 10 years ago, I discovered Raymond was trafficking more than just real estate. Young women brought in through properties he owned sold to wealthy clients." Grace's voice carried old pain. "I wanted to go to the FBI. Marcus convinced me to stay quiet, said he'd handle it internally. Instead, he had me committed to a psychiatric facility for 3 months. Said I was having delusions." The evil kept spreading, reaching depths Diana hadn't imagined. "By the time I got out, all evidence was destroyed. Raymond had covered his tracks. And Marcus was rewarded with a bigger role in the organization." "Organization?" Diana's voice was hollow. "What kind of organization? The kind that looks legitimate on the surface. Real estate medical facilities, hospitality venues, but underneath." Grace met Diana's eyes. "Your parents knew. That's why they fought so hard to keep Raymond from expanding into certain neighborhoods. They were the wall between him and total control of Miami's luxury market." Diana's phone rang again. Emma's school. This time she answered. "Mrs. Chen, Emma's had another episode. She's asking for you. She keeps saying she needs to tell you about the lady." "What lady?" "She won't say. She's quite distressed." "I'm on my way." Diana hung up and turned to Grace and Jake. "I have to go. My daughter—" "Be careful," Grace interrupted. "They've been setting up psychological profiles on your girls. Dr. Catherine Wu, she's not just a child psychiatrist. She's Raymond's personal mental health manipulator. She's the one who had me committed." The ground shifted again. The nurse had recommended Dr. Catherine Wu. "Go," Jake said. "I'll keep going through the documents with Grace. We'll build a case." Diana nodded, but Grace caught her arm. "The beach house, the one your parents left you. Check the panic room. Your father knew more than he ever said." Diana ran through the gardens past the tourists and their simple pleasures, her mind racing faster than her feet. Every relationship, every recommendation, every seemingly random connection, all of it orchestrated. Emma sat in the school counselor's office this time, drawing with fierce concentration. The counselor, Ms. Rodriguez, looked relieved to see Diana. "She won't talk to anyone but you," she said quietly. "She just keeps drawing." Diana knelt beside her daughter. Emma had filled 3 pages with variations of the same scene. A woman with silver-streaked hair standing behind 2 other women who were fighting. The silver-haired woman's hands stretched toward them like a puppeteer with strings. "Emma, sweetheart, who is this?" Emma looked up, her eyes red from crying. "The lady who came to our house. When you were at work and Daddy thought I was asleep. Last month and before, lots of befores." Emma returned to her drawing. She brought tea for Daddy, special tea that made him sleepy. Then she went into his office and used his computer. Diana's mind raced. "Did she see you?" "Once. She smiled and gave me a candy. Said I was dreaming and should go back to bed." Emma's hand stilled. "But I wasn't dreaming. And the candy tasted funny, so I spit it out." "You did exactly right, baby," Ms. Rodriguez intervened gently. "Mrs. Chen, Emma should probably see someone. These episodes are escalating." "I'll handle it," Diana said firmly. "Emma won't be returning to school for a few days. Family emergency. But her education is less important than her safety." Diana gathered Emma's things, her daughter's hand gripped tightly in hers. In the parking lot, she spotted a black sedan that had been behind her on the way to Vizcaya. It pulled out when she did, maintaining perfect following distance. Instead of driving home, Diana headed to her parents' beach house in Key Biscayne. She called Sophia's friend's mother, arranging for her to stay another night, claiming a work emergency. Then she called her assistant. "Lucia, I need you to do something without questions." "Of course, Mrs. Chen." "Move my afternoon meetings. All of them. And if Marcus calls, tell him I'm in showings all day and unreachable." "Is everything all right?" "It will be." The beach house stood like a memory against the azure sky, its Mediterranean architecture unchanged since Diana's childhood. She hadn't been here since her father's funeral, couldn't bear the echoes of happier times. But now those echoes might hold answers. "Why are we here, Mommy?" Emma asked as they walked through the dusty foyer. "Looking for something Grandpa left us." The panic room was hidden behind a bookshelf in her father's study, opened by pulling a specific combination of books. Diana remembered her father showing it to her when she was 16, making her promise to remember the combination, her mother's birthday, their anniversary the day Diana was born. The bookshelf swung open, revealing a steel door with a digital lock. Diana entered the code with trembling fingers. Inside was a small room with monitors, emergency supplies, and a wall of filing cabinets. But it was the desk that drew her attention. On it sat a letter with her name, and beneath it box after box of evidence. "My dearest Diana," the letter began in her father's precise handwriting. "If you're reading this, then my worst fears have come true. I'm gone and the wolves have begun to circle. There are things I should have told you, preparations I should have made you party to. But I hoped to spare you this burden. I see now that hope was foolish." Diana sank into the desk chair Emma pressed against her side, reading along. "Raymond Chen is not just a business rival. He is a cancer in Miami's heart, feeding on desperation and trafficking in human misery. Your mother and I have spent 20 years fighting him in shadows, using our legitimate success to block his illegitimate expansion. But 2 years ago, I learned something that changed everything. Chen had placed someone in our family. I suspected Valerie's husband initially. Jake's background had holes. But then Valerie divorced him suddenly, and I thought the danger had passed. I was wrong. The plant was Marcus. I have documents here proving his connection to Chen going back to before he met you. Every moment of your courtship was orchestrated. Every gesture calculated. I wanted to tell you, but you were so happy. And then the girls came, and I thought perhaps love could change him. I was a fool. Love cannot change someone who never loved to begin with. In these files, you'll find everything I gathered. Financial records, photographs, recordings. But be careful, Diana. Chen has reaches everywhere. Trust no one except I." The letter ended there, a line of ink trailing off as if he'd been interrupted. Or worse. Diana turned to the files Emma forgotten beside her as she absorbed the magnitude of her father's investigation. Photos of Marcus with Raymond Chen dating back 8 years. Financial transfers. Recordings of conversations where her life was discussed like a business acquisition. Then she found the medical file. Her father's prescriptions annotated in his hand. Changed suddenly. V insisted. New Dr. Steinberg. Symptoms worse after change. A toxicology report dated a week before his death ordered privately elevated levels of digitalis inconsistent with prescribed dosage. They'd poisoned him, slowly, carefully making his heart condition worse while appearing to treat it. "Mommy," Emma's voice was small. "Was Grandpa murdered?" Diana couldn't lie to her too perceptive daughter. "It looks like it, baby." "By Daddy?" The question hung in the air like a blade. "I don't know. Maybe. Probably." Emma pulled out her tablet and opened a file Diana hadn't seen before. "Then you need to see this." It was a recording. Emma had been recording on her tablet hidden under her stuffed animals the night Valerie had come for dinner last week. The conversation was muffled but audible. "Marcus, the timeline needs to move up. Diana's getting suspicious." "Valerie, you said we had 6 months." "Marcus, that was before she started asking questions about my conference trips." "Valerie, can't Catherine handle it? A few sessions, some prescribed anxiety medication." "Marcus, Diana won't go to therapy. You know her." "Valerie, then we go to plan B. Make her seem unstable. The girls are already showing signs of stress. We document everything, build a custody case." "Marcus, and if that doesn't work?" There was a long pause. "Valerie, then we use the same method we used on Dad. Gradual, untraceable. Tragic heart attack of a stressed executive." The recording ended. Diana pulled Emma close, her body shaking with rage and fear in equal measure. "You brave, brilliant girl," she whispered into her daughter's hair. "I knew something was wrong," Emma said. "The way Daddy looks at you sometimes, like you're not a person, like you're just a thing in his way." Diana's phone rang. "Jake. Diana, where are you?" "My parents' beach house." "Why?" "Get out. Now." Grace just decoded something in the financial records. "There's a meeting scheduled today. At that house. In an hour." Diana grabbed the most important files, shoving them into her bag. "Emma, we're leaving." But as they reached the front door, cars were already pulling into the driveway. 3 of them. Marcus's Porsche, Valerie's Mercedes, and a Bentley Diana recognized as Raymond Chen's. "Back door," Diana whispered, pulling Emma toward the kitchen. They slipped out as voices filled the foyer, reaching the beach as footsteps echoed above them. Diana kicked off her heels, Emma beside her, and they ran along the waterline, feet sinking into sand. Behind them, shouts. Ahead, a public beach access where Diana had parked a company car during showings sometimes. The key was still hidden in the wheel well where she'd left it months ago. They drove in silence until they reached a Starbucks in Coral Gables, far from anywhere Marcus would think to look. Diana bought Emma a hot chocolate and herself a coffee she couldn't taste, then called Jake. "We're safe. Thank God. Grace has arranged a safe house, a property Chen doesn't know about." He gave her an address in Coconut Grove. "Diana Grace found something else. Your mother, she's more lucid than they're letting on. The facility is medicating her to keep her confused. Another piece of the puzzle, another depth of cruelty." "We're going to war," Diana said quietly, watching Emma draw in a notebook processing trauma through art, as always. "They want to take everything fine, but they forgot something." "What's that?" Diana smiled cold and sharp. "I learned from the best. My father didn't just teach me real estate. He taught me how to fight dirty when cornered. And right now," she looked at her daughter, this brave child who'd been recording evidence without being asked, "I'm not just cornered. I'm rabid. What do you need? Everything. Every document, every recording, every connection. We're going to build a case so airtight that when it drops, it doesn't just take down Marcus and Valerie. It takes down Raymond Chen's entire empire." "That's dangerous, Diana. These people made one crucial mistake," Diana interrupted. "They went after my children. They killed my father. They're drugging my mother." Her voice dropped to something deadly. "I'm not just going to beat them, Jake. I'm going to destroy them so thoroughly that their names become cautionary tales whispered in Miami boardrooms." Emma looked up from her drawing, a phoenix rising from flames that looked like houses. "Are we going to win, Mommy?" Diana kissed her daughter's forehead. "Yes, baby, we're going to win, because we have something they don't." "What, May?" "We have the truth. And the truth, when weaponized correctly, is the most dangerous thing in the world." Her phone buzzed. "Unknown number, the facility. Tonight, 2 a.m., your mother's window of lucidity. Don't trust the night staff." Diana screenshot the message and forwarded it to Jake and Grace. The puppet master was still pulling strings, but now Diana could see them. And soon she'd cut them all. The safe house in Coconut Grove was a modest ranch-style home hidden behind walls of bougainvillea and old Florida oaks. Grace met them at the door, her expression softening when she saw Emma. "You must be the artist," she said gently. "I heard you've been documenting everything." Emma nodded solemnly. "Someone had to." Inside, Jake had transformed the dining room into a war room. Documents covered every surface, laptops showed financial records, and a timeline stretched across one wall showing the conspiracy's evolution. "It goes back further than we thought," he said without preamble. "Chen started grooming Marcus when he was in medical school. Paid his loans, got him the residency at Mount Sinai, even orchestrated his meeting with you." Diana studied the timeline. "The charity gala 7 years ago. Chen bought a table specifically to place Marcus in your path. They studied you, Diana. Your dating history, your interests, your weaknesses. Marcus was sculpted to be your perfect match." The violation of it made her skin crawl. Every intimate moment, every shared laugh, every tender kiss. All of it calculated manipulation. Grace pulled up financial records on her laptop. "But they made mistakes. The shell companies have patterns. Chen always uses the same law firm to set them up, the same accounting firm to manage them. And that firm," she smiled grimly, "has a whistleblower, someone who's been documenting irregularities for years, too scared to come forward." "Who?" "Patricia Delgado, senior accountant. Her son has special needs, and Chen's medical facilities provide his care for free. It's how he keeps her quiet." Diana recognized the leverage immediately. "If we could guarantee her son's care—" "Already done," Grace said. "I've set up a medical trust. Fully funded, irrevocable. Patricia just needs to know it exists." They worked through the afternoon building their case while Emma napped on the couch, exhausted from the trauma. As evening fell, Diana stood before their assembled evidence, seeing the full picture for the first time. It wasn't just about money or companies. It was about power, control. Raymond Chen wanted to own Miami's soul, and he was using Marcus and Valerie as his instruments. "Tonight," Diana announced, We visit my mother. If she has a lucid window, we need her testimony. Grace, can you arrange recording equipment? Already in my car. Jake, I need you to contact Patricia Delgado. Tell her about the trust. Get her ready to turn. What about Marcus? Jake asked. He's going to notice you're gone. Diana pulled out her phone and texted her husband. Taking Emma to urgent care. She's had another episode. We'll stay at hospital overnight for observation. Don't come. You'll make it worse. His response was immediate. Keep me updated. Love you both. The casual lie of that love you made her stomach turn. At 1:45 a.m., Diana and Grace sat in the parking lot of Coral Gables Senior Care, the facility gleaming like a cruise ship in the darkness. Security cameras swept the perimeter, but Grace had already mapped their blind spots. Your mother's room faces the garden, Grace said, pulling up architectural plans on her phone. The cameras there have been malfunctioning for weeks. Convenient, right? They slipped through shadows, two women in black moving with purpose. The night staff door was propped open, someone smoking just out of sight. They waited for the cigarette to finish, then entered. The facility was quiet, that particular institutional quiet of medicated sleep and abandoned hope. Diana's mother's room was at the end of a long corridor, a corner suite that cost more per month than most people made in a year. Isabella Martinez sat by the window staring at the garden lights. She looked smaller than Diana remembered, frailer, but when she turned, her eyes were clear. Diana. Her voice was stronger than expected. I've been waiting. Mom. Diana crossed to her, kneeling beside the chair. Are you lucid for about an hour each night? They don't know. I learned to hide it after I realized what they were doing. Isabella touched Diana's face with a shaking hand. My brave girl, you figured it out. Dad left evidence. About Chen. About Marcus. Your father was trying to protect you. We both were. Isabella's eyes filled with tears. I should have been stronger. When they started the medications, I should have fought. But Valerie, my own daughter, we're going to stop them, Mom. All of them. Isabella nodded, then reached under her mattress, pulling out a small recorder. I've been documenting everything I could. Conversations, confessions. Valerie doesn't know I'm lucid sometimes. She talks freely. Grace set up her equipment as Isabella began to speak, her voice growing stronger with each word. She told them about Valerie's visits, her gloating about the plan, her relationship with Marcus that had started even before he met Diana. She told them about Dr. Steinberg, who came monthly to adjust her medications. She told them about Raymond Chen's visit 3 months ago, where he'd stood over her bed and detailed exactly how he was going to destroy everything the Martinez family had built. But the most important thing, Isabella said, looking directly at the camera, is what I overheard last week. They're planning something for the twins' birthday party. Something to make Diana seem unstable in front of all the important families in Miami. The twins' birthday was in 3 days. Diana had been planning it for months, an elaborate affair at the Biltmore Hotel with Miami's elite in attendance. What kind of something? I don't know exactly, but Valerie mentioned Dr. Catherine Wu would be there, and something about a public breakdown that would be thoroughly documented. Grace and Diana exchanged glances. A public humiliation witnessed by everyone who mattered would destroy Diana's credibility forever. Mom, Diana said urgently, would you testify in court? Gladly, but first get me out of here. Isabella's clarity was starting to fade, the medication reasserting itself. There's a window, tomorrow afternoon, during shift change. Her eyes began to cloud. Mom, stay with me. The safety deposit box, Isabella whispered. Bank of America. Main branch. Your father and I. Both keys needed. I hid mine in your old music box. She slipped back into confusion, mumbling about roses and tea parties. Diana kissed her mother's forehead, rage and sorrow warring in her chest. They left the way they came, shadows among shadows, carrying the recorded testimony that could change everything. In the parking lot, Diana's phone rang. Marcus. Where the hell are you? The hospital has no record of Emma being admitted. Diana thought fast. We went to Baptist instead of Mount Sinai. You know Emma doesn't like your hospital. I'm coming there now. She's finally sleeping. Please, Marcus, don't wake her. A pause. Then, fine, but we need to talk. About the party. About us. Tomorrow. Tomorrow. He hung up, and Diana knew their time was running out. 3 days until the party. 3 days to gather enough evidence to destroy an empire while protecting her daughters from becoming collateral damage. "We need more allies," Grace said. "Chen owns judges, police commissioners, city officials. We can't trust the normal channels." Diana thought of her father's letter, the unfinished sentence about who to trust. Then she smiled. "I know exactly who to call. Someone Chen would never think to buy because he'd never think they mattered." Hu Tao, the wives. The overlooked, underestimated wives of every powerful man in Miami. They see everything, know every secret, and most importantly, Diana's smile turned predatory. They talk to each other, and they all talk to me. Grace laughed, soft and appreciative. "You're going to weaponize the Junior League. I'm going to weaponize female solidarity. Chen and Marcus forgot that behind every successful real estate deal I've made, there's been a wife who trusted me with her family's future. Time to call in those debts." As they drove back to the safe house, Miami sleeping around them, Diana felt the pieces clicking into place. The board was set. The players were revealed. And in 3 days at a children's birthday party, she was going to destroy everyone who'd tried to destroy her. The war for Miami's soul was about to begin, and Diana Martinez didn't intend to take prisoners. The Biltmore Hotel rose like a Spanish colonial dream against the Coral Gables sky, its tower a landmark that had watched Miami transform from swampland to international destination. In 72 hours, Diana's daughters would celebrate their 9th birthday here, surrounded by 200 of Miami's most influential families. It was meant to be a celebration. Now it would be a reckoning. Diana stood in the ballroom, ostensibly reviewing decorations with the event planner, but her mind was elsewhere. Every exit mapped, every camera angle noted, every potential ally and enemy cataloged. "Mrs. Chen, the butterfly release you requested." The planner, Antonio, held up his tablet. "The permit came through, but there's concern about the timing with the cake cutting." "It'll be fine," Diana said, though she was thinking about a different kind of release entirely. Her phone buzzed. "Jake," Patricia turned. "We have everything. Financial records going back 10 years. Then Grace. Your mother is secure. Private medical facility in Naples. Chen's people won't find her. And finally, the unknown number. You're not the only one who wants Chen destroyed. Check your email." Diana excused herself to the ladies' room, one of the Biltmore's opulent spaces with its original 1920s tiles. She opened her secure email to find a message from an address she didn't recognize, truthinmiami@proton.me. Inside were photographs that made her blood run cold. Young women, some barely 18, at what looked like parties in expensive homes. Their eyes were glassy, unfocused. In the background of several photos, Raymond Chen, Marcus, and Dr. Catherine Wu. The accompanying text was brief. "Human trafficking, drugging, sexual assault, Chen's real business. Your husband participated. November 15th, 2019, November 23rd, 2020, December 3, 2021. More dates available. Original files with metadata preserved. One survivor willing to testify if protected." Diana gripped the marble counter. She'd known Marcus was part of Chen's organization, but this was evil beyond her comprehension. She forwarded everything to Grace with a single word, FBI. Grace's response was immediate. "Already in contact. Agent Sarah Coleman. She's been building a case for 3 years. This is what she needed." Diana stared at her reflection. The elegant woman in designer clothes looked like a stranger. She thought of the young women in those photos, their lives destroyed while she'd been sleeping next to a monster. Antonio knocked on the door. "Mrs. Chen, your husband is here." Diana composed herself and walked out to find Marcus in the ballroom, his doctor's coat still on, studying the party layout with an intensity that now seemed sinister. "Planning something special?" she asked, her voice carefully neutral. He turned, and for a moment Diana saw him clearly. The calculated warmth in his smile, the evaluating look in his eyes, the way he positioned himself between her and the exit. "Just thinking the butterfly release might be too much," he said. "We don't want to overshadow the girls." "Since when have you cared about overshadowing anyone?" His eyes narrowed slightly. "You seem tense. Maybe you should see someone. Dr. Wu comes highly recommended." "I'm sure she does." They stood there, predator and prey, pretending to be husband and wife until Antonio's cheerful incomprehension broke the moment. "Should I show you both the menu selections?" "I have surgery," Marcus said. "Diana can handle it." He kissed her cheek, his lips cold, and whispered, "Valerie sends her love." After he left, Diana found her hands shaking. 3 more days of this performance. That evening, she met with her assembled allies in a private dining room at a restaurant Chen would never frequent. Too pedestrian for his tastes. Around the table sat 5 women whose husbands controlled various aspects of Miami's power structure. Margaret Walsh, whose husband ran the largest legal firm in Florida. Beatrice Kumar, married to the police commissioner. Cristina Rodriguez, whose husband owned 3 television stations. Liu Wei, married to a federal judge. And Sofia Petrov, whose husband controlled Miami's Port Authority. Ladies, Diana began pouring wine with steady hands. I need your help. She told them everything. Marcus's betrayal, Chen's trafficking, the plan to destroy her at the birthday party, the evidence they'd gathered. The women listened in silence, their faces cycling through shock, anger, and finally determination. That explains so much, Margaret said quietly. The cases my husband wouldn't take, the clients he'd refuse without explanation. The investigations that got shut down, Beatrice added. My husband would come home frustrated, saying his hands were tied. Chen owns them all, Diana said, through blackmail, bribery, or fear. But he made one mistake. He ignored you, thought you were just decoration. Christina laughed bitterly. My husband thinks I don't know about his mistress. Chen arranged her. I have photos. One by one they shared what they knew, the secrets their husbands thought hidden, the corruption they'd observed but been powerless to address, until now. What do you need? Liu Wei asked. Saturday night, the party. I need witnesses, credible, unimpeachable witnesses, and I need at least 1 camera crew there recording everything. I can arrange that, Christina said, a society reporter covering the party. Very normal. My husband will insist on attending, Margaret added. He never misses a networking opportunity. I'll make sure he brings his senior partners. Commissioner Kumar will provide security, Beatrice said with a cold smile. The kind that actually serves and protects. They spent 2 hours planning these overlooked women who ran charities and raised children and were dismissed as trophy wives. They'd been underestimated for years. That was about to change. Friday morning, 24 hours until the party. Diana sat with Emma and Sophia at breakfast, maintaining the illusion of normalcy. Marcus had already left for the hospital, claiming emergency surgery. Are you excited about tomorrow? Diana asked, braiding Sophia's hair. Is Aunt Valerie coming? Emma asked quietly. Diana's hands stilled. Why do you ask? I heard Daddy on the phone. He said something about Valerie and a surprise. Sophia turned around. Mom, Emma and I have been talking. We know something bad is happening. Diana looked at her daughters, these brave, too perceptive children who'd been living in a house of lies. After tomorrow, she said carefully, things are going to change. But no matter what happens, we're going to be okay. I promise. Is Daddy a bad person? Emma asked. Diana considered lying, but these girls had already seen too much. Yes, I think he is. Are we bad because he's our dad? Sophia's voice was small. No, Diana pulled them both close. You are good and brave and perfect. What your father is has nothing to do with who you are. Her phone rang. Grace. Diana, we have a problem. Chen knows something. He's pulled all his people back. Marcus has been at Chen's compound since last night, not the hospital. How do you know? Because I'm watching it. Diana, there are FBI agents here too. Something's happening. Diana felt the timeline accelerating. The party is tomorrow. Whatever you're planning, it needs to happen then. This might be our only shot. After dropping the girls at school, their last normal day, Diana realized, she drove to the bank. The safety deposit box her mother had mentioned required both keys. Diana had retrieved hers from the old music box in storage. Her father's key was in his study at the beach house, hidden in a false-bottom drawer she'd discovered years ago, but never understood. The bank manager, recognizing her, didn't question the dual keys. The box was larger than standard, and when Diana opened it, she understood why. Cash, gold coins, bearer bonds, and a letter. If you're reading this, her father had written, then the worst has happened. This is your war chest, untraceable funds to fight or flee. There's also a contact, someone who specializes in protecting people from men like Chen. Use it if needed. The contact was a business card with just a phone number. Diana called it from a burner phone. Yes? The voice was female, accented slightly. My name is Diana Martinez Chen. My father was Eduardo Martinez. I know. He saved my daughter once from Chen's people. I owe him a debt. What do you need? Protection for my children, tomorrow night. The Biltmore party. We're already aware. Ms. Chen, would you prefer extraction or intervention? Diana thought of her daughters, the life they knew, the city that was their birthright. Intervention. It ends tomorrow. Understood. My people will be there. The rest of Friday passed in careful preparation. Diana played her part, the stressed but devoted mother finalizing party details. She took calls from Marcus, assuring him everything was perfect. She even met Valerie for coffee, watching her sister lie with such ease it was almost impressive. You seem tired, Valerie said, stirring her latte. Maybe you should rest before tomorrow. I'm fine. Are you? Because Marcus is worried? He says you've been erratic. Concerned about my well-being. How sisterly of you. Valerie leaned forward. Diana, whatever you think you know. I know our father would be ashamed of you. Valerie's mask slipped for just a moment, revealing something raw and angry beneath. Our father loved you more. Everything was always about Diana. Diana's grades, Diana's achievements, Diana's perfect life. So you decided to take it. I decided to take what should have been shared. Valerie stood. Enjoy tomorrow, sister. Enjoy being the center of attention one last time. After she left, Diana found a small recording device under the table. She left it there, speaking clearly for whoever was listening. Tomorrow, everyone will know the truth. Saturday arrived with the kind of perfect Miami weather that seemed orchestrated. Clear skies, gentle breeze, golden sunshine that made everything look like a movie set. Diana woke the girls early, their excitement genuine despite the undercurrents they sensed. Today you're princesses, she told them, helping them into matching lavender dresses they'd chosen months ago. Whatever happens, remember that you're loved and protected. Emma hugged her tightly. We know, Mommy. Sophia added her own fierce embrace. We're brave like you. The Biltmore's ballroom had been transformed into an enchanted garden. Thousands of paper butterflies hung from invisible wire, moving gently in the air conditioning. The tables were set with crystal and silver, each centerpiece a masterpiece of orchids and roses. It was beautiful and expensive, and exactly what Miami society expected. Guests began arriving at 5. Diana stood in the receiving line with her daughters, Marcus conspicuously absent, greeting each arrival with the same practiced smile. Margaret Walsh arrived with her husband and 3 senior partners from his firm. Beatrice Kumar came with the commissioner and 4 off-duty detectives who looked like guests but moved like security. Christina Rodriguez brought her camera crew, ostensibly there for a society segment. Then the enemies arrived. Valerie in a red dress that was slightly too attention-seeking. Dr. Catherine Wu, elegant and cold, watching everything with calculating eyes. And finally Raymond Chen himself, accompanied by 2 men who were definitely not party guests. Mrs. Chen, Raymond said, taking Diana's hand. His skin was papery illness, evident despite expensive tailoring. Such a lovely party. Your daughters are charming. Mr. Chen, I didn't know you were coming. Your husband insisted. We're family now, aren't we? His smile was a threat. Marcus appeared then, moving to Diana's side with false affection. Darling, everything looks perfect. Where were you? Last-minute emergency. You understand. He leaned close. Smile. Everyone's watching. The party proceeded with surreal normalcy. Children played games while adults networked. The food was exquisite. The band played tastefully. Diana moved through it all like a ghost at her own funeral, waiting for the trap to spring. At 7:30, the cake was wheeled out, a massive creation of spun sugar and fondant butterflies. The crowd gathered, phones raised to record the moment. Diana stood with her daughters, Marcus, beside them, the perfect family portrait. Before we cut the cake, Marcus announced, his voice carrying across the ballroom, I wanted to share something special. Diana's blood chilled. This was it. My wife has been under tremendous stress lately. He continued, his tone concerned and loving. Building her business, raising our girls, dealing with family illness. She's been so strong. Too strong, perhaps. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Which is why I've arranged for a special surprise. Dr. Catherine Wu has agreed to help Diana through this difficult time. Dr. Wu stepped forward. Mrs. Chen has been experiencing some concerning episodes, paranoia, delusions. We believe it might be related to the stress of her father's death and her mother's condition. That's not, Diana started. These recordings were made by concerned family members. Dr. Wu continued, pulling out an iPad. But before she could play anything, Emma's voice rang out clear and strong. You're lying. The crowd turned to the 8-year-old girl who stood on a chair, her own tablet raised. My daddy is lying. He's been lying for years, and I can prove it. She pressed play. Marcus's voice filled the ballroom. The timeline needs to move up. Diana's getting suspicious. We used the same method we used on Dad. Gradual, untraceable, tragic heart attack of a stressed executive. The crowd gasped. Marcus lunged for Emma, but Sophia blocked him, and suddenly there were police officers moving through the crowd. Not private security, but FBI agents who'd been waiting for this moment. Marcus Chen, you're under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder, fraud, and human trafficking. But Marcus wasn't listening. He'd grabbed a knife from the cake table, holding it as he backed toward Diana. You ruined everything. 7 years of planning. 7 years of lies, Diana replied, standing her ground. Valerie tried to run, but found Margaret Walsh's husband blocking her path with 2 FBI agents. Dr. Wu was already in handcuffs. Raymond Chen sat at his table looking unsurprised, almost amused. You think you've won, Chen said to Diana. You have no idea how deep this goes. Deep enough, Agent Coleman said, approaching him. Raymond Chen, you're under arrest. Chen laughed. I'm dying anyway. Pancreatic cancer. 3 weeks, maybe 4. You think prison scares me? No, Diana said. But legacy does. Every property, every business, every dollar you've accumulated. It's all being seized. Your empire dies with you. For the first time, Chen's composure cracked. Marcus still held the knife, but his hand shook. The girls are mine too. You can't take them. Actually, I can. Diana pulled out a document. DNA test. Court ordered last week when you missed the sample appointment because you were at Chen's compound. The girls aren't yours, Marcus. You're sterile. Always have been. The fertility clinic made an error. Used the wrong sample. Biologically, you have no claim. The revelation shattered him. The knife fell from his hand as police moved in. But in the chaos, no one noticed Dr. Wu had slipped her cuffs until she grabbed Emma, a small syringe appearing in her hand. Everyone stops or she dies. The ballroom froze. There's enough sedative here to stop her heart, Dr. Wu said calmly. I want a car and a clear path. Diana stepped forward. Take me instead. No, the child is better leverage. Emma brave. Brilliant Emma looked at Diana and mouthed, trust me. Then she went completely limp dead weight that threw Dr. Wu off balance. In that split second, one of the mysterious security people, the ones from Diana's father's contact, moved. Dr. Wu went down the syringe, skittering across the floor. Emma popped up, grinning. Drama class finally paid off. The ballroom erupted. Guests fled or filmed. Police arrested conspirators. Children cried or cheered, depending on their perspective. But Diana only had eyes for her daughters, pulling them close as their world reformed around them. Is it over? Sophia asked. Before Diana could answer, Grace Chen appeared at her side. Not quite. There's something else. Someone else. She led Diana to a quiet corner where a woman sat, elderly but elegant, watching the chaos with satisfied eyes. Hello, Diana, the woman said. Diana's world tilted. Mom, Isabella Martinez smiled. Surprise. But the facility, the Alzheimer's? Real but controlled. I've been taking medication to maintain the symptoms when needed, stopping them for windows of clarity. Isabella stood steadier than she'd seemed in years. I've been playing the long game, dear, just like your father taught us. You knew everything. I suspected, then knew, but I needed proof, and I needed them to reveal themselves completely. Isabella touched Diana's face. I'm sorry for what you've endured, but you were the only one strong enough to draw them out. You used me as bait. I used us all as bait. To catch monsters, sometimes you need to look like prey. Diana felt too many emotions to name. The messages, the anonymous guidance, that was you. Some of it. Others came from Grace, who I've been working with for years, and some from Agent Coleman, who your father brought in 3 years ago. The scope of the deception, the counter-deception, was staggering. Why didn't you tell me? Isabella's eyes filled with tears. Because your genuine reactions had to sell it. Marcus would have known if you were acting. He studied you too well." Around them, the party's destruction continued. Raymond Chen was being wheeled out on a stretcher, his face gray. Valerie was in handcuffs, screaming about betrayal and unfairness. Marcus stared at nothing, broken by the revelation about the daughters he'd never truly been father to. "Who is their father?" Diana asked quietly. Isabella smiled. "A brilliant geneticist who donated to the clinic. Nobel laureate. Your father arranged it when he learned about Marcus's condition. Insurance, he called it." Diana laughed, dark and appreciative. "He knew, even then. He suspected. Your father was many things, but naive wasn't one of them." Agent Coleman approached. "Mrs. Chen will need statements, but it can wait until tomorrow." Diana nodded, then turned to her daughters, who were being fussed over by the wives' brigade, protected and celebrated. "What happens now?" she asked her mother. Now you rebuild. The company is yours. Valerie's shares are forfeit due to the fraud. Chen's empire will be dissolved, its legitimate assets sold, proceeds going to his victims. And Marcus," Isabella's voice hardened, "Marcus will spend the rest of his life in prison knowing he lost everything to the woman he tried to destroy." "It doesn't feel like victory," Diana admitted. "It's not. It's survival. Victory comes later when you build something better from the ashes." The next morning, Miami's papers ran with headlines that would dominate for weeks: "Trafficking ring exposed at children's party," and "Chen Empire falls," and "The wives who knew." Diana sat in her penthouse, truly hers now, watching the sunrise paint the city gold. Emma and Sophia were asleep, exhausted from their ordeal, but safe. Really safe for the first time in years. Jake Morrison called. "The financial forensics are incredible. We're going to recover almost everything they stole, plus damages." Grace Chen texted, "Starting a foundation for Chen's victims. Would you consider being on the board?" Her mother arrived with coffee and plans for rebuilding the Martinez empire, this time with transparency and purpose. But it was the message from an unknown number that made Diana smile. "Your father would be proud. The city is safer because of your courage. The shelters for trafficking victims open next month, fully funded by seized Chen assets. You gave us justice. Thank you." Diana stood on her terrace, the same one where this nightmare had begun, with a mysterious text. The city below was waking up, oblivious to how close it had come to being consumed by darkness. Marcus was gone. Valerie was gone. Chen was dying in custody. The conspiracy was shattered. But Diana remained. Bruised, betrayed, but unbroken. Her daughters appeared, wrapping themselves around her legs. "Mommy," Emma said, "I had a dream." "Good or bad?" "Good. I dreamed we were butterflies. Real ones. And we could fly anywhere we wanted," Sophia added. "And no one could catch us because we knew all the wind patterns." Diana knelt down, pulling them close. "That's a beautiful dream." "Is it over?" Sophia asked again, the question from the party that had gone unanswered. This time, Diana had an answer. "The bad part is, now we get to write the good part." Below them, Miami stretched toward the horizon, a city of possibilities and second chances. The Martinez family had survived its darkest night. Now it was time to fly. Epilogue. 5 years later, Diana stood in the same Biltmore ballroom, transformed once again for a celebration. But this time it was genuine. The Martinez Foundation's annual gala had raised $10 million for trafficking survivors. Emma, now 13, played violin on stage, while Sophia gave a speech about resilience that had half the audience in tears. Jake Morrison, now Diana's business partner, and something more, raised his glass to her from across the room. Grace Chen, who'd become like a sister, a real sister, laughed at something Isabella said. The Wives Brigade had become a formal organization, monitoring and reporting corruption throughout Miami's power structure. They'd exposed 3 more trafficking rings and countless cases of financial fraud. Marcus was serving life in federal prison. His letters to the girls went straight to the FBI unread. Valerie had gotten 15 years and lost everything. Raymond Chen had died 2 weeks after his arrest, taking his secrets to hell. Dr. Catherine Wu had been killed in prison, the circumstances mysterious, but not particularly mourned. "Mom!" Emma appeared at Diana's side now, taller, confident, artistic, but fierce. "That reporter wants to know if you'll comment on the Chen estate finally being liquidated." "Tell them the past is past. We're focused on the future." Emma grinned. "Already did. I'm getting good at this." Sophia joined them, her intensity channeled into legal studies even at 14. "Grandma says it's time for your speech." Diana walked to the stage looking out at the assembled crowd. Many faces were familiar, but not all were friendly. Miami forgave success, but never forgot scandal. "5 years ago," she began, "in this very room, my family's darkest secrets were revealed. It was the worst night of my life. It was also the beginning of our liberation." She spoke about resilience, about the strength found in truth, about the power of women who refused to be silenced. She spoke about her father who'd fought in shadows and her mother who'd played a longer game than anyone imagined. "But mostly," Diana concluded, "I want to talk about butterflies." She pressed a remote and the ceiling opened. Hundreds of real butterflies raised specifically for this moment filled the air. The crowd gasped, phones rising to capture the magical scene. Butterflies are proof that transformation is possible, that what seems like destruction, the cocoon dissolving the caterpillar dying, is actually rebirth. Miami has transformed. My family has transformed. And if we can do it, anyone can. The applause was genuine this time, no hidden agendas or forced networking. Later, as the party wound down, Diana found herself on the terrace with her daughters watching the city lights. "Do you ever regret it?" Emma asked. "Everything that happened?" Diana considered the question. The betrayal still hurt sometimes, a phantom pain from an amputated life. But what had grown in its place? "No, I regret that people were hurt. I regret that your grandfather isn't here to see this. But the rest, it made us who we are." "Survivors," Sophia said. "No," Diana corrected. "Thrivers." Her phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. But this time she recognized the pattern. Another whistleblower. Another conspiracy to unravel. Another battle for Miami's soul. She showed it to her daughters, these fierce young women who'd inherited their grandfather's courage and their grandmother's cunning. "Ready for another adventure?" she asked. They grinned, Martinez women through and through. "Always," they said in unison. The butterflies danced around them, free and impossible to cage, as the city below hummed with promise and peril in equal measure. The Martinez empire hadn't just survived, it had evolved. And this was just the beginning.